art, and you know, Hal tried a bunch of different ideas to try to get me to approach it differently, and it didn't matter. Whenever we would get to that particular one, um, I'd fall flat on my face. And then eventually he told me, he's like, "Yo, if you don't if you don't do the rape, the play doesn't work." I was like, "Oh shit!" All right. So I come in the next day, and I start doing this work that my teacher Elizabeth would had taught us, which is this shadow work, right? So part of my work is using my senses in order to really enrich an experience. So we would do a lot of different exercises. For example, you know, especially at the beginning, I would take an orange and I would like feel the texture of the orange for a while, and then
Rounding. Yep.
yeah, and then smell it and kind of like feel the pulp or like this, you know what I mean? All these things, to, and then after doing that, or I might take a piece of fabric and do the same thing, you know, and then um, when when I'm alone, I'll recall, like I'll recall the the
And
taste, the touch, all those things. And so it's a practice that you engage in order to, because what ends up happening is when you enrich your senses, when you use your imagination, it's more vivid.
mm,
That's what ends up happening. Like colors are richer, the smells end up like it's open enough for you to to
yeah, quick segue, just to piggyback real quick. If you imagine an apple in your hand and you close your eyes and do the same thing you said about feeling the texture and the smell, your nervous system doesn't know the difference between holding a real apple. So you're spot on.
It's true. It's true. It's almost like the same thing when you're dreaming. When you're dreaming, and you're looking at you know, you're looking at your mother. You know, what are you using? You're not using your eyes because your eyes are closed. But
Mm.
it's the same parts of your brain that light up. And no, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it doesn't distinguish the difference.
So can
Uh,
I say this? I think we're going to kind of segue a little bit because I just want to go back to rituals real quick. Is that why rituals are so important? That that that. So you have a part of you that's within, and you're trying to connect it to a part of you that's on the outer world. And now we have the imagination that
mhm.
can imagine an apple, but in this case, back to your what you showed us, what you showed the audience about your rituals, I guess. Is that is that analogous in terms of what
Well,
ritual for you
well,
to grow
I,
in your person?
yeah, I mean, I don't think that I, I don't think it's possible without ritual. I think ritual allows all the parts of you to
Mm,
engage in a practice that it gives you a courage to
mm,
expand yourself. Um,
success.
yeah, you know, the if I don't do my ritual before I go on stage or on screen, I'm always in my head. And I've
Yeah.
tried it. I've tried to work around it. It just will not happen. I have to engage in a ritual that's gonna allow mm, allow all the parts of myself to
Hmm.
work together in order to
Complete that task, whatever it is. Yeah.
and also it also to be in a space of not knowing what's gonna happen, you know,
Mm,
like, and to be confident in that
yeah.
space.
Yeah.
And you know, essentially when you do when which I'll swing it back to this. So you know, when during that rehearsal where uh, I just couldn't do it,
The
I,
rape scene.
I didn't engage in any ritual. I didn't have it. I didn't, you know, and there was no ritual. I just jumped into the rehearsal and we were just rehearsing, which is fine or whatever. So the next day, without realizing I had engaged in a ritual, I
Mm.
started sensorially creating the shadow part of Raul, which is the character,
Mm.
right? And the same way that I would recreate an orange or a coffee,
Mm.
I created his shadow from head to toe. I took the time.
Bodied it.
Yeah, and so once I created that, then I stepped into it and it kind of like felt what it was like to wear that shadow, and I started doing things with my voice that I had never done before. I started moving in ways. It was almost like a possession almost. So I started like really letting it take over. So that by the time we started the rehearsal, the rape was so real for everyone in the room, right? And I was in control, but it was that fine line, like I allowed myself to get to that point, and it was so real that my scene partner in the middle of the scene, she goes, "Stop, Goya!" Just yells it out, which means she broke character.
Yeah.
And she walks up, she gets up and runs out the room. She's like sobbing, all right, and just like, and Hob doesn't know what to do because we had two other scene partners on top of that who were like, one of them
Heavy.
went to go, and then at that moment I remembered, oh, I forgot how much it hurt when it happened to me as a kid. And so
Mm.
I like broke down and like hard, my whole like, them kind of cries that just your whole body's purging.
Yeah, yeah. But I was about to ask, was it a good cry? And it sounds like it was
I
since you.
think it ended up being it was a bit volatile because it was such an explosion of it was such a
Yeah.
release on all parts. Like homegirl that ran out the room was having her own release running out, and they had to
Yeah.
chase her across the street. She left the building. Like
Yeah.
we were on the fifth floor. Like she was out, and have like not knowing how to deal with me and what was happening with me, and eventually we all came back together in the room,
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging what happened and being like, and then realizing that this is a story that we need to tell.
Yeah. Exactly.
you know but it was
That's
it was
powerful.
yeah, it was ritual that allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
If I didn't take the time to create that experience, that shadow, like allowing my all allowing my focus to be just focus on that ritual as an entry point, because that's what ritual is just an entry point.
Yeah. And for all those, for really quick, Goya, for all those out there watching, we're naturally ritualistic creatures. You wake up in the morning, you make your bed, you you put your coffee machine on, you brush your teeth. We all do certain things, certain habits that we have that we do every day constantly. We drive the same way to work. We go stop and get that bagel or whatever you eat. What Goya, I hear you saying is that you purposefully use your ritual, though. You did it with intent, which changes the whole dynamic of the process.
Well, I think that's the difference between habit and ritual, right? So like habit is done without consciousness, so it's not
Mm-hmm.
something you have to think about. You brush your
Mm-hmm.
teeth, you comb your hair,
Yeah.
and you have a cigarette, whatever it may be, right? You don't have to think about it, so it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
Well, like with ritual, it's you marrying it with an intention,
Success.
but that has something at stake for you,
Yeah.
and I think that's when you start getting in it. There's something about acknowledging yourself and what it is that you are
Yeah.
striving for inside of ritual. And
Yes.
so yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I love it more than like it because you just connected a lot of dots um from how we're doing things at Satori. So the intent of Satori is just to um bring conversation to mental health and wellness in whatever aspect, whatever profession, whatever genre, doesn't matter, and how you help yourself develop, help those around you develop, how you grow. And oftentimes, it's not easy. It's hard, but then you have those moments of Satori that where it clicks or something, you're aware of it, of whatever it may be, and it that awareness connects all the dots for all the struggles you went through, all the problems you went through, it starts to all make sense and give meaning and purpose. And you exemplify that with your story, with your environment you grew up in, and the reason why you went into acting, and this experience with that with the young lady.
Mm.
uh, that was that was like the that was like the culmination to me. I don't know how the rest of your story goes in your life, but that was like the culmination, your aha moment. Like, wow, you know, this is what I do, and I do it really good.
Mm. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm glad you're doing this, man. This is a good. I like the way you're approaching bringing light to people's experiences as a way to help others, um, you know, relate to something bigger than maybe what they're struggling with, or maybe give their struggles some type of validation so that they understand that it's just something you go through and something you can use. I think it's powerful, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you being a part of this. Because I wanted to invite people on that I look up to, that I admire, that are striving, and I wanted this to be blue collar. I wanted this to be real. I wanted you to wear your T-shirt and eat your yogurt while we're talking.
If I rolled out of bed, son.
I don't want I don't want it to be that raw, but wanted it to be something real for anybody who's interested in listening to us, because we've been doing this for a while, just having these conversations. Goy, I'm having a tough day. Goy, I'm angry as hell right now. I really want to smash something. And then we'll engage in dialogue, and then we'll call another friend, and we'll all talk. And then, not that we necessarily come up with the answer, but I got to express myself. Somebody listened to me without telling me what's right or wrong, or telling me what to do. They just listen. That's why I value relationships like you, relationships like Javier. And speaking of relationships, how have relationships helped you grow and manifest into the person you are now
Um,
in a positive way?
yeah,
In
yeah.
positive relationships.
Well, I mean, relationships are funny, man. Because I think the biggest element about relationships that I've had to come to terms with is that they change. Like um, you know, there's people. So there's people that have really left their mark. Like Elizabeth. Um, I've done work with Hav. Hav and I have always been pretty close. Like when we met, we always connected, and it was always cool. But it wasn't until we went to grad school where we really started seeing the inner what makes us work and within, like deep within, and that just bonded us together even more closely, and so that's how our relationship changed for the better. You know what I mean? And and I've learned how to be in certain relationships like that, for example, that have taught me how to be a better son. Like when I saw Hav with his mom, it want to be a better son, and to see what his how he is with his family and with people he calls his brothers. It made me be a better brother. It made me be. I was like, I learned a lot about loyalty.
Mm.
People like him, you know what I mean? And then there's other relationships, like my dad. He was in and out of my life, you know, my whole life. You know what I'm saying? And now we're not talking at all because he doesn't want to have anything to do with me. And um, and to see how that relationship has changed,
Mm.
um, it was also very humbling because it's like, yo, I can't force anybody to want to connect with me, and to you can't force relationships upon people, which has been another learning experience. And I think that's probably the biggest thing about relationships is acknowledging how they change,
Mm.
and holding holding close to those who um, don't try to diminish the work that I do on myself. Those are the ones that I hold close to me, because we're all
Yeah.
um, in this struggle together. And if you're not taking away from me, then you have a family. You can call me fam.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's just kind of, I guess, the biggest thing. And just also seeing people change. Like my mom, she's very violent when I was younger, but now, as an old, I see the way she is with my nieces. I see the way she is with, like, she's grown a lot, and to know that people can change based of like looking in the mirror at certain things.
Mhm.
It makes me hopeful as well. Like, um, so all in all, I think relationship is probably the quintessential factor to how we end up growing or not,
Mm.
expanding or not. You know, in acting more than anything that you choose inside of a scene, what your action is going to be, right? The most important thing is what's your relationship to the person you're speaking to.
Mm.
Who's and because that's what's going to give you your sense of being. Without relationship, you can work on heat, you can work on the prior circumstance. It don't matter. None of that shit matters if your relationship is not present.
Yeah. I like the word. Yeah. Yeah.
Because what are your relationships to things? You
Yeah.
know, just being able to look at those things is probably what has been one of the most useful tools that I've had as a way to grow.
Success. That's so we've been talking for about 60 minutes straight now. I know you're a busy man, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. So I'll finish off with this question. Hopefully, it makes sense to you. And the umbrella is mental health and wellness. Um, where do you see Goya 5 years from now?
Um, um,
Don't worry about the timing either. We got an editor, so we good.
I want to. I want to have made both movies that I'm working on. I think one of them is a movie, the other one might be a TV show. I don't know what the other one is going to be, the Esteban one. But I want they will have both been completed. I want to be in my own home. I don't want to rent anymore. I want to be traveling. I'd love to live in France for a year. I'm learning French right now, so um, I,
Nice.
5 years. I will have wanted um, to travel to at least two of the countries in which my my indigenous origin is. Like, I did a DNA test, and like I'm indigenous from a lot of different places. I would love to go to certain places and and um, you know, meet elders and and get some knowledge and wisdom from from those places. I'd love. What else? I want to be debt free, like with my college loans. Them shit's just killing me. Um,
Amen.
yeah, bro. And yeah, I think, you know, have a production company that has doing at least 2 films a year. You
Nice.
know, that's really 5 years. That's what I think. That's what I want
For right now.
for right now. Yeah.
All right, my brother. Any last thoughts, words, any shout outs you want to give the audience?
Man, I just this conversation just reminded me the importance to share your experience, no matter what you've gone through, as a way to tell your story and to give yourself the gift of validating yourself and loving yourself. And
Amen.
yeah, it's such an important thing, you know, in a world where we're told that we have to be something other than ourselves.
Mhm.
You know, it's the one place where it's like, oh, you know, um, if I don't have to pretend with myself, then that's a beautiful starting point, you know. So just to leave it with that, man. Like, you know, it's you're worth telling your story, and you're worth being heard for
Word.
sure. So
Yeah.
commit to it. You know, commit to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so everybody out there in TV land, you know, we talked about ritual, we talked about relationships, we skimmed on self-love and the shadow. Um, you know, leave questions in the comment section or statements in the comment section. Shout out to Goya Robles for his participation in Satori. You're really on your path, like that spiritual warrior path. You're there from my personal observation of you. We didn't talk about anything surface level. You know, you didn't bring anything surface into this conversation. And I appreciate you being vulnerable for the audience and appreciate you allowing them to take a glimpse into your soul and your life, you know, because you know, they deserve it. You deserve it. And you know, I love you, big bro. That's pretty much it.
Love you too, bro. Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on, and keep doing your thing, man. This is awesome, bro.
Satori. Success.